Welcome to another combined lesson with myself and John.
Hello.
This week we are looking at a Campanella arrangement of Lullaby by Johann Brahms. Um, I recently posted this not as a Campanella arrangement on the Patreon channel, so hopefully you've had a go at that. And it just struck me as a song that was worth trying to arrange in Campanella to really let those notes ring out. So that's what I did. It's a little bit more simple than some of the material that we normally cover, but I wanted to see how guess you guys respond to that, and whether it's too easy for you or whether it's it is of some use to some people. And what I hope will happen as we go through this is John will give me some pointers to make it a little bit more interesting, and hopefully it will help you with your own arrangements too.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to learning it. You can teach
Cool.
me how to play.
It's going to be
It's going to be a
very,
good exercise. Yeah,
very
learning new
difficult for you,
arrangements.
John. Very difficult, I would think.
You never know.
So this is what it sounds like. Cool. So I think we'll go through this bar by bar because it's not a huge arrangement, so we can spend a little bit of time going through it for
Yeah.
each note.
Mhm.
And I'll give you suggestions on how I play it, and then John will tell me how to do it better, I would imagine.
Not necessarily, but we'll have a look. Let's see what's what.
Okay, so this song is in 3/4 timing, so it's definitely worth noting that. A lot of the timing is really quite simple, but getting that in your head straight away will definitely help you. So for the first bar, we start with a couple of E notes. So the way I play this, so it's on the third beat, so there's nothing for the first two beats. So it's 1, 2, and then the notes are 3 and. I'm playing the open E string, and on the fourth fret of the C string for my second note. So that's just the first two notes. And then we're into the second bar, and the first note I'm playing is the open G string. So if I put those three together, it's only three notes, but you'll start to hear. You'll start to hear the song sort of coming together a little bit there.
Good.
So that's, I guess it's an interesting one in that if I run through it exactly bar by bar, it's not going to sound quite right because of that lead into the song. So I'm sort of crossing over bars a little bit here, but with the tab on screen, it should hopefully help me through that anyway. So once we've done that once, that's just a repeat, and I'm just letting you know that I'm fretting that that E on the C string with my second finger because I think this comes in useful a little bit further on. So we run through that twice. And then we are into the end of bar 3. So, and then just pluck in that C string, still holding down the 4th fret, the open G. And then for the 4th bar, I'm dropping my index finger onto fret 3 of the A string. And then I'm moving my second finger onto the 4th fret of the G string. Then my third finger comes down onto the 5th fret of the E string. Okay, so I'll just put that together up to the end of bar 4 now.
Yeah, play it all the way through for us.
Cool. So not an awful lot of left-hand movement, which is good, I think. If I've learned one thing from you, John, it's to try and keep my movements as few and as possible.
That's all good so far. Yeah, sounds nice.
As we come into bar 5, we've got an open note on the A string. And then we need to drop our index finger onto the 3rd fret of the E string. So just a slight bit of movement there. And then we've got a slightly awkward change. So maybe, John, you might be able to offer a suggestion here. So we're actually moving position here, not just our fingers. So I drop my index finger onto the 2nd fret of the C string. So the change here, I'll just do that as I'm coming from bar 4. So you can see what I've done is I've completely left that position that's sort of held in place for that bar with my first, second, and third fingers, and then I'm just dropping my index finger down to the D note here on the C string.
Right. Okay.
Again, reason I use my index finger on this as we move towards the end of bar 5. So I'm playing that D note, then I'm playing the open E string. I can then use my pinky finger on the 5th fret of the C string. One thing here, John, so obviously one of the things when I was arranging this for Campanella is there's a few points where I struggled to move between strings and keep notes ringing out, and you'll see this starting to happen here. So I've obviously got this this F note here, and I'm playing that on the 5th fret, and then I'm playing the same string. I'm playing that C string again, but just at the 2nd fret. Now I could have found that F note somewhere else, but that would have meant a repeat note prior to that anyway, so it wouldn't really have saved me. Sorry, not a repeat note, but a repeat string.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool.
Right now in this case, then, so do you want to play to the end of bar 6?
Yeah. So do you want me to go right from
what we've done so far?
Yeah, right from the start.
Okay.
Cool. Cool. So I'll leave it there for now.
Okay, right. Let's have a look at that then, because now, the idea of Campanella then is to play a different note on a different string every time, not to play 2 notes on the same string. So when you get to the end of bar 5, and so you've got D to E and then to F.
Yep.
That sounds like the right thing to do, and it certainly is the right thing to do. But then we have to go back to D, so we're stuck. So we can't do that. Now that is an impossible thing. You can't play Campanella. Because you just don't have any alternative strings. But the other thing is now we're going to go from the F back to the D, and I think this is just a matter of personal choice. To think ahead to the next bar.
Yep.
Because if we at bar 5, when we've got D E into bar 6, that's the Campanella way.
Yep.
And now we have to kind of forget the Campanella just for one note, because we're going back to D. We've got no other way, because D is only has one place of playing it. But if you go ahead and you think, well, what would you prefer? Would you prefer to play F to D, which is not Campanella, or would you prefer to play in bar 5 a hammer-on? So that when you come back to the D, you've got this harmony of the D and the F, which makes a D minor chord. Okay, so instead of going, which is perfect Campanella, doing a hammer-on and coming back to the D, because then you've got the F that's still ringing at the same time as the D. And you might decide, well, maybe that's more fitting, because I've got, as well as a Campanella, I've got a little bit of harmony going as well, which you can't usually do with Campanella.
Yeah, I quite like that, because then I suppose, I had what I felt like was 2 choices of where to play that F
those
note.
are the 2 choices that you have.
Was either to hit that the F on the E string or hit the F on the C string. But I like the idea of a hammer-on. I hadn't even considered it, to be honest.
Because it allows you to let that note ring D until you come back to it.
Yeah.
And you hear that, so the note D rings all the way through. So that does give you a kind of Campanella effect as well.
Yeah, I like that. So I might change the tab so that is in for people.
Well, that was what I was going to ask you. Okay, after asking for my opinion, are you going to revise the tab?
So what I will do is then, because people are watching this and have watched me play, the tab on screen will be what I do, and the downloadable version will be the hammer-on version.
Only if you think that's an improvement. I mean, this is that's my advice. Okay. Now,
also, I'm quite a fan of hammering on notes and letting them ring while you play the next note. It's a technique I there's a few songs I learned on acoustic guitar that deployed that, and it's.
Mm.
I remember the first song. I think it might have been "Waterfall" by the Stone Roses. I learned to play on acoustic, and it uses that quite heavily. And it's a weird one because it knocks you out of your timing because you're sort of in this pattern of picking notes on certain beats, and actually you start to miss one. And I remember playing first time I learned "Waterfall." It was quite difficult for me to get around to sort of, I've hammered on, so I don't need to pick a note. And it took me a while to get through that. It's a little bit easier here because it's not quite as complex a song. But yeah, I like the idea.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Where you're going with that. That's really interesting. Now, that I've like been specialising in Campanella for a number of years. That's why I learned to play the ukulele in the first place. But we mustn't forget that the music comes first, not the technique. And if Campanella is not always the best way to do something, and when we're playing, these three notes here, we have no choice. If we're going from one to the other, we just can't play Campanella because there's only one place to play them on the ukulele. There's only one place. So think about the music first and how it sounds. But it's a personal choice. I think that could be and a hammer-on is good because it's legato, it's nice and smooth. One note glides into the next. So that's a good way of doing that. The other thing on bar 5, if you're looking at bar 5, is another one of the principles of Campanella is if you can use an open string.
Okay.
Now the second note of bar 5 is a G.
Yep, of course it is. And
why didn't you play it 4th string open? Because that would give you longer sustain.
Do you want the real, true, genuine answer to that?
I think I might know what it is.
Go on, tell me what it is.
Well, you hadn't thought of it. I don't know. No. Yeah.
It sort of is that. It's not just I hadn't thought of it. It's quite often the G string is the one that just slips my mind because of that re-entry tuning. And I'm not so super used to it. You don't think of it. Just if you've come from guitar, like both John and I have to ukulele, the concept of moving to the string that's closest to the ceiling to get melody notes is absolutely alien. Yeah. And
so the word that keeps cropping up in the comments on my YouTube is counterintuitive.
Yeah, and it is.
It doesn't feel natural. Doesn't feel natural to go in that direction. Yeah.
It probably isn't such a problem if you started, I guess, your musical journey with just a ukulele and you didn't come from an instrument that's strung in a sort of linear way, or I would imagine it's probably a little bit more natural to you. But yeah, certainly coming from a guitar, you don't look to the bass notes for the melody very, very rarely. And it's just that it's an oversight. It's almost like a blind spot in my playing is the G string sometimes.
Yeah. Okay, but I'll play the open G because it would sound like this. So now you're going to go from the end of bar 3. And you got all of it open, so you can then go into the D afterwards, the D. Okay, so and you got it all open, all hands off.
Yeah, I like that. I actually didn't when you said one of the other principles of Campanella to use an open string where possible. I didn't actually know that either, so I've learned something there.
Just because it sounds longer,
agreed,
it'll ring longer. It'll ring longer. You don't play finger even on guitar, and if it's not Campanella, but even on the guitar, you're not going to play an A, like an A3 on the 5th string, 12th fret when you can play it on the 3rd string, 2nd fret. Or you're not going to play a bunch of bar chords when you can play the open strings. The only guitar player who really talks about that is one of my favourite guitarists called Pierre Bensoussan, who's a French guitarist, plays in dadgad tuning.
Yep.
And he calls it the harpisant technique, trying to play the guitar like a harp.
Right.
And you can do it in that particular tuning, where he's like super, super advanced and will play lots of jazz chords and everything. But to make that kind of really nice or harpy feel, just let the strings ring open as much as you can.
No, it makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good spot. John's on the spot here, actually having to pick these out as we go through as well, because I think it's the first time you've been through the tab.
Yeah.
Impressive. It's even more impressive than John.
Okay. Thank you, bud. All right.
So that takes us into the end of bar 6, which leads into bar 7. So we've just got a D followed by an E note, which again you could do the hammer on there. I suppose it's a
Yeah.
cool. Towards the end of bar 7, so we're playing a D note again, but this time another F, which this time I'm picking up on the E string. Then we've got a slight position change, so to pick up this 4th fret on the G string. So I'm plucking 4th on the G string, open on the A string, and 3rd fret on the E string. I'm so bad at calling out string names as I do them automatically. And then again, I'm just moving my 2nd finger down to the 3rd fret of the A string.
Yeah.
So that bar 8 into bar 9 just sounds like this. And don't do what I keep doing, which is making an awful noise when I lift my fingers off the frets. This is a song that's really not that forgiving on that front, so you need to be crystal clear with each note and not really have any notes ringing out that aren't intended to be there.
Okay.
Oh, you've got a little bar going on there.
I'm just thinking about that as well. Okay, because now you've also got a fretted G note here on the third fret of the 2nd string.
Yep.
Oops, sorry about that. So you could slide into a bar there. Alternatively,
Go on.
oops. Okay, so this one, G open.
Yep.
And because I've got G open, I to keep the Campanella, I don't want to play on the same string.
Yep.
So I'm going to play the B on the 7th fret of the 2nd string, and stretch up to the C here so that I can keep the G string ringing.
Okay.
There. You can hear that. So I could do it like this. I could go and play the C here on the 5th fret of the 4th string. But if I want to make that Campanella sound nicer, okay, I keep the G string ringing open and play the B and the C there, so they're all ringing at the same time.
Yeah, nice. I like that.
Okay, so that's perhaps just a little bit more tricky because you've got a stretch. It's not a big stretch.
Yep.
Okay. I don't really think it changes much. I mean, I think that's just being a little bit, nitpicking. Yours is perfect. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that at all.
Okay, so that is us going into the end of bar 9 and into bar 10. So I've got this repeated C note at the end of bar 9, which is completely unavoidable unless you're playing on a low G strung ukulele. Interestingly, actually, talking about low G, why don't you play with a low G?
Because you can't play Campanella on a low G. I mean, it's almost impossible.
I suppose, yeah. Now I'm doing that oversight on the G string again, but it would.
You don't have the. You see, on a guitar, you've got 6 strings, so you can find other places to play things. But with 4 strings, it's almost impossible. It means you're playing Campanella. You'd be all over the place. It really doesn't work. The advantage of a low G gives you more bass. So if you want to play fingerstyle accompaniments with an independent bass line or some accompaniment, it's the low G is good, but it's not for Campanella.
My thoughts were just for when you, in the situation like we've got now, so at the end of bar 9 where we're playing 2 C notes in succession, but there's literally only one place we can play them on a re-entry ukulele.
Yeah,
a low G would give you another option there, but I suppose the loss.
Yeah, but you're talking about up at up on the 12th fret, 15th fret, to get to some of those alternative notes.
And the loss of the melody, the higher trebles will cause you more problems.
Yeah, it's just not made for that.
Cool.
There you go.
Cool. So the highest note in the entire song comes up at the start of bar 10. So end of bar 9 is a 2 C notes, which I'm playing on the 5th fret of the G string.
Mm-hmm.
Then, so I'm getting the open strings in here a little bit. So end of bar 10 is open A string, F note on the 1st fret of the E string, and then to the G string, open, into the 12th, there's that F note again, open G string, open A string. Have I lost you?
No.
All right,
I'm just looking at bar 13.
Okay.
And another G.
Yeah, then into G. So again, I think John will tell me that I should play this as an open, which I'd not got in the tab, but I will change that.
Right.
Cool. Sorry.
No, but you could, or you could just leave it as the way you played it, because you theoretically you've got the open G that's already ringing. Okay. So now you've got 2 Gs ringing at the same time. Okay. Or you can play them open as well. So that again, that's personal choice. I don't make any. I'm not making any judgment on that at all.
Cool. Okay, so that's bar 12 into bar 12 is. There's that G.
Yeah.
Back to 2 C notes. There's that 5th fret on the G string again. 2 opens, so open E, open C. Then the F note on the E string, open E string, D note on the C string, fret 2, and then open C to end the song.
Yeah, that sounds great. Just have another look at the. Okay.
Have you got something for me in bar 16?
No, because you got the at the end of bar 15 you got a C.
Yep.
No, I don't see a better way of playing that. Now, normally, if I was going F to E to D to C that way, if I was doing that, I'd go F on the 3rd string to E and then D. But you're already starting with the low C, so you can't really do that.
Yep.
No. That's the only way you can do that.
You could just pull them off. So you could just.
You could.
I don't know whether that brings anything to the party. I think you're probably going to lose a little bit of clarity in your notes on a song like this, which is all about clarity. So I'd probably suggest
that's definitely good.
Give it up. So that was Lullaby. So now you can go and put people to sleep with your playing if you weren't already doing that. My wife would argue that I do that with her sometimes, but not intentionally. This is perhaps a good one for people to sort of encourage them to start actually trying to arrange some tunes, some simple tunes in Campanella, and just get to grips with trying to do it yourself, which is exactly what I've done here. It's quite a simple one. It is a very simple song, but it's interesting, and it definitely improves your fretboard knowledge, actually arranging in Campanella, because you need to know where the notes are. You need to know what notes you're playing and where else you can find those notes on the fretboard. So if nothing else, it will definitely help you do that.
I've got a video on my YouTube channel as well, which to be honest with you, was never very successful. And I think I found like 11 different ways of playing ABC, just ABC.
Okay.
In the Campanella style, so you can go, I don't know, A, B, C, A, B, C. There are about 11 different ways of doing that, and I think that's a really, really good start, because if you can find all the A, B's and C's all the way across, all the way up to the 12th or even the 15th fret, it's a good sort of like reference point. It's a good anchor to get to. I thought it was a great video. Nobody watched it, but, check it out. And,
maybe they will now. Maybe they will now.
Yeah. So just the AB, and I called it the ABC of Campanella, but this didn't work. but still. So that was good. What else was I going to say? Yeah. The other thing is when I'm looking on YouTube for arrangements, fingerstyle arrangements, and sometimes people say, yeah, I've got a fingerstyle arrangement of a tune. Get the tabs or what have you. Some of our competitors on on YouTube. What I find with a lot of arrangements is they call it fingerstyle, but very often it's like they strum a chord and then they play a melody and then they strum another chord and then they play a melody, and then another chord and then a little bit of melody, and there's not really a lot going on at the same time, which is fair enough and it can sound really nice. But if you're playing a single line melody in between some of those chords, why don't you play them Campanella? Make it sound a little bit more interesting.
Yeah,
so you
that's
got a
a
little
good
run, and then and then you make it sound a little bit more interesting rather than just going just you've got that possibility to make the instrument sound really, really beautiful. For me, that's the charm of the ukulele with the high G tuning. Sorry.
That is a good idea, actually. I like that idea. I've never sort of thought of playing partial Campanella mixed in with some chords, yes, just to get those melody notes out.
If there's just a little run that's just a single line, see if you can just find an interesting way of playing it. Okay, so that's my tip for this time.
Great. So thanks for watching, everyone, and we'll be back soon.
Yeah. Okay, see you next time. Bye-bye.